Hi, everybody.
Hello.
We are just getting set up on our newest live stream show, the Sarah and Sean show, but it's more about my wife, Sarah. I'm super happy to introduce you all to her. And in like 2 seconds, it looks like my daughter's about to go. You can see her thinking,
Of course.
that is that. Say hi.
You can say
Wave.
hi
They can see you.
and get your hands off the sliding door because mom life.
Oh, that's so perfect. I'm just gonna make sure right now, if you don't see me looking at the screen, I'm making sure that we're actually live on Substack, just making sure that it's working. Let's see. So it looks like we're live.
Woohoo.
Awesome. We got a few people on.
Yay.
Okay, so hey, I'm able to monitor the comments now, so please comment if you can.
Say hi.
Long story short, I want to introduce everyone to my beautiful wife, Sarah. She is our social chair and MVP of the household, and that's
President
my
of the
daughter
household.
Sadie, who is the Disney lover, and so we wanted to do this. This is actually my wife's idea. And we wanted to do this because we've just been through a lot together as a family. And we want to just share our story. I think Sarah, a little bit inspired by what I've been doing on Substack, sharing my faith, starting a ministry. And I hope she was inspired by the positive changes that I've made during my healing journey. And we just kind of wanted to share our story together. We look at ministry as a family, and she's a lot funnier than I am and a lot prettier than I am. And so I wanted to get her on here. And so I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to let Sarah give her side of the introduction.
Okay. Like Sean said, I'm the funnier and definitely prettier one out of the two of us. And I'm not the vice president of our household. I am the president of everything at home. I just let him think that. And I guess like my whole thing, like I will always stand by because I know how social media works. I know how people can be. But with us sharing our story and talking about different life experiences that we've gone through, I want to make sure it gets known that like this is not out of like resentment, bitterness. There's no anger. It's more of sharing our story, and hopefully, if there's other people who have gone through similar things, that they have a community or people that they can like kind of come to or just be able to relate to some things, and knowing this is not here to lash out at anyone. It's not to blame or just any of that. It's not to be negative or anything like that, because I don't want it ever to be that way. We've done our healing, so it's not like we're doing this for revenge or any of that. I'm just one of those, I'm very private person when it comes to like social media and stuff like that. So I think that's my like big thing I want to make sure is like it's very like genuine and just encouraging to let others know that like you may not be alone if you've gone through stuff like this.
Yeah, so maybe we start and we have to keep very positive because we got a little munchkin that wants to be part of the show. All of a sudden, she's super shy until the camera turns on.
Yeah,
okay, sit down.
Maybe we just not name names.
Yeah. Well, she probably already, she's smart. But anyways, so let's start a little bit at the beginning then, just so that people know, because I'm always talking about my stuff from my perspective, from my frame of reference. Now, Sarah's my wife, so I know a little bit of where to start. But to be completely honest, it started beyond 2 years ago. It started like the day we met. And so maybe Sarah, maybe in a funny way, because it is a funny story looking back. Why don't you tell the story of the first time I invited Sarah to dinner with my family?
Oh my god. Oh my gosh. Well, like I feel like it's just like it's funny because I can laugh about it because this is almost like it's crazy. Like this is what 9 years ago. We've been together for next year will be 10 years we've been together. And he invited me over to dinner. I guess to really meet his family. I met his family before at his hooding ceremony and his graduation ceremony from TCU when he got his master's. And then they had a family dinner or something like that right after that, I think, or maybe shortly after that. And I remember, I don't know, something like your dad was like mad about something, the way that your mom didn't serve his meal, and they just start cussing at each other.
And when she says cussing, like it's beyond like what you would think. Like you only think no, like cussing means like
he's calling her the B word, and I'm trying to keep this like PG because
the MF word gets thrown out a lot.
So like I grew up in a stable household. My parents have been together for it'll be 34 years, I think, in a couple weeks, like in a month. I love my parents to death. They're like my best friends. My dad and him are like two peas in a pod. I call him TJ, Tom Jr., because he's like my dad in so many ways. It's scary. So I was not used to this. And I remember like, I think after dinner, we left in the car and you were like, I don't even know how it got brought up. I think we were just like, I don't know if I said something or if he asked me. And I just remember saying that was really uncomfortable because like I have never been exposed to seeing parents argue like that or talk to each other like that. Because my parents don't even like cuss at each other. Like they don't even argue with each other in front of us, like in front of my brother and I. So definitely I was not I'm sure my parents argued throughout like growing up, but they never did in front of my brother and I. And so I remember telling Sean I wasn't used to that. And so I don't know how it got brought up between you and your mom that I think you told your mom like, hey,
well, ask them to stop. This is the best part. So I want this to be told the right way.
Yeah,
it was in the middle of dinner, and I asked my parents to please stop arguing in a very polite way. Like that's how I do talk. I said, "Hey guys, like this is a little too much. Can we stop the arguing? Just have a nice meal." And my mom turns to me, looks me dead in the eyes, then looks at Sarah and says, "In this family, we have no boundaries. What you see is what you get, and this is how this family operates. And no, we're not going to change for anybody."
I should have rated him.
Yeah, like my face still gets red, like retelling the story. So I can't imagine how red in the face I was. This was when, I think Sarah and I had just basically started like dating. I don't even know if we were Facebook official. Does anyone even remember what that is? Like,
no,
is that even a thing anymore? Like no, Facebook official?
Not even that big of a deal. I feel like anymore. I just remember like I think I was speechless because I was like, in my head, I was like, no, that's not gonna work for me. Like, we're gonna have some boundaries if this is gonna work. And here we are later now.
Yeah, so I guess the moral of the story is, ladies, if you ever hear the mother of someone you're dating say that there's no boundaries in this family, just go ahead and run away. Like,
or give them the benefit of the doubt and like know that maybe it's better, maybe it doesn't. I mean, it got rocky, but
yeah, maybe you just have to go through the dark night of the soul for like an extended period of time, say like a 2-year, 3-year journey of healing and
therapy
and
journaling.
Yeah, all the things like it's great. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, if you can avoid that, I don't blame you. In fact, like I think Sarah and I have talked about this. Some of my mom especially. I'll put most of the onus on my mom actually for this one, but my dad always made sure to help out. my parents, my family had a great time breaking up relationships. So I didn't really have a lot of long-term relationships before I met Sarah. And
I was just lucky.
yeah, look, kids are kids, young adults are young adults, teenagers are teenagers. So it's not all my parents' fault. But yeah, anytime I did bring someone home, that was usually the last time I ever spoke to that person in any way romantically, at least to say. So yeah, it's interesting because we describe things based on what would you call it, like severity, right? So like, we say like, we went through this like 2-year healing journey, or this 2-year um, dark time in our life, or whatever you want to call it. But like, the truth of the matter is, I don't believe that God's will is for anyone to suffer. And these things that happen in our lives are typically patterns that show up early on. And I guess I'm like kind of red flagging myself, but Sarah's right. Like had Sarah been like every other woman in my life and ran away, she maybe could have avoided some of that pain, right? So everything happens for a reason. I don't want to take that away, but I think like it's important to acknowledge the warning signs and the red flags early on. And looking back with hindsight, now I'm not judging myself, but just giving myself the benefit of hindsight is 2020. Had 9 years ago, or even before then, I started setting boundaries with my mom and my family earlier on, maybe we both could have avoided some of that pain, right?
I mean, I don't know if I would put the full blame. Like, don't be so harsh on yourself about that, of like trying to say, oh, I should put up boundaries then. Because you can only control how you respond and how you react, and how you're in control of yourself. You can't control how your mom has been for so many years, if that makes sense too.
No, definitely. I think it's just like, for people listening, if you run into red flags,
Oh, yeah.
the earlier that we acknowledge them and become aware of them and confront them in a loving way, perhaps not all the time, but perhaps pain later you can sidestep, right?
Yeah.
Like, had I already set firm boundaries with my mom before I met you, things may look a lot different in our life. Maybe not, right? Everything happens for a reason. But I guess like people listening, I want to give them practical advice.
Sure.
And so like some of that practical advice is, depending on where you are in your marriage, in your relationship, setting those boundaries early is really, really important and helpful. I wish I had known about boundaries 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, like, even, gosh, I think it was like right before like all the stuff that we had went through with your family, when I think you were traveling, you were doing something, and your mom came with me to take Sadie to her dance recital pictures, because she does dance, and she made some remark about how she doesn't feel included. So, I wanted to try to make her feel more included, like with just her doing something with Sadie and I. And so I invited her to come with us to see the process of doing hair and makeup for ballet. And we went out to dinner after that. And I remember in the car on the way back, because I remember telling you later how it got brought up again about boundaries, how she doesn't believe in boundaries. And I think I'm polite. Like, I said it in a very respectful manner, that I think boundaries are healthy to have. Just because that's what I grew up with, except like in my family with and I love all my family members like to death. We're a very close family. That's just my upbringing. But there are some times where like other family members would put my parents in between, or have them feel in the middle. And that's where like my parents would set boundaries, and like not tolerate things. And there's things like my dad should have done or vice versa or whatever it is. I can't remember. And so you always kind of look back and be like, oh, I should have done that, or you try your best. But I remember one of the last couple of times before all this stuff happened where she did try to bring up boundaries again with me and saying like, there are no boundaries. I don't believe in boundaries. And I was like, no, hang on. Like, boundaries are okay. Like, we don't need to be crossing boundaries. And here we are.
Well, I think
that makes sense.
I think like in the sense of that story, you know, one of the hardest things was what we'd really done too was we had set up days. So Sadie was in an amazing daycare. It was like an in-home daycare. Shout out to Miss Terry. Love her to death. If you're in the Fort Worth area, let us know. We'll hook you up with like the best daycare you could ever possibly find. But long story short is my mom would like always like do this like fake like against daycare type rant. And so we said, okay, well, what days do you want to come over and be with Sadie? And I said, you know, we like to have Sadie home too. How about Monday? And we like did it with her schedule, like Mondays and Wednesdays or Mondays and Thursdays or whatever. And every Monday and Thursday, we kept Sadie home from daycare for like a full year. And we were like, look, you don't have to call us. We don't have to schedule like the whole day. If you just show up, or if you want us to come over, you just let us know, but just show up every Monday and Thursday. My mom showed up once time
on a Monday.
On a Monday is the first Monday. So I will give her credit for that. And then never again, but continued to basically tell us that she never gets to see Sadie and blah, 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 blah. So on and so forth.
Can't make this
and
up.
So like, that's where it gets into like beyond boundaries. That's like manipulation, covert narcissism, potentially BPD, some other types of mental illness that, you know, it is.
We aren't diagnosing.
Yeah. Not diagnosing. It's just is what it is. And, you know, I think when it comes through like the boundaries is, I know for me, when I met Sarah's family, it took time, right? Like, so we talked about like, hey, I wish I knew this stuff 10, 15, 20 years ago. It wasn't like the first time I ever interacted with Sarah's family, I learned everything. But over time, I started realizing like what I grew up in, what I thought was normal was not normal. What I thought was healthy was not healthy. What I thought a family should look like is not necessarily what a family should look like, right? Like, so like, even though like I'm so fortunate that God called me at a young age and then I started reading the Bible on my own, you're still clouded by perceptions, especially of that of your parents, because let's face it, when you're a young child, you're dependent on them to live. And whatever the relationship you have, especially with your dad, but also your mom and your dad, that's going to cloud your perception of how you look at God. So like, because I had a faulty lens, you know, a good illustration or example is, you know, my glasses, right? Like I'm basically blind without my glasses. But if I have the wrong pair of glasses, I might see a little bit better. That's my lens. But if it's not the right prescription, I'm not going to see, you know, with clarity. And so I just remember over the years, just the more time I spent, you know, Sarah talked about, you know, Sarah's dad is like my own dad. I consider him my father. And, you know, the more time I spent with them, I started realizing that like, hey, like, you know, I think one of the things that really opened my eyes was when things weren't going well, or actually, honestly, when things were going really well financially, and I was working my ass off, and it was like 80, 90-hour weeks, and like, I'm not going to say that your dad disapproved, but like, he wasn't like super like, he wasn't like super impressed. You know, he was like, yeah, well, make sure you take time to go on vacation. Make sure you take time for yourself. Make sure you take time for your family, for my daughter, for your child, for my grandchild, right? And that is like night and day. Like, I never heard that from my father or my mother. It was always like,
Make good money.
Hey, make really good money, work really hard, and then like when you're 60, you'll get to enjoy your life. It's always just like moving goalposts with them, and it was always. In fact, it wasn't even me that had the realization that everything my parents talked about was money. It was actually Sarah's dad. Like Sarah's dad brought it up one time, and it like hit me like a ton of bricks in the face. He goes, "Yeah, Sean." He's like, "I realized pretty early that everything with your family revolved around money." And I was like, at first I was kind of, huh? Like what? And then I got to thinking, I was like, yeah, he's right.
Mhm.
Like every conversation with either of my parents and even my sister would somehow, some way come back to the subject of money every time.
And that was something that, like, growing up for me, like, my parents never talked about that, especially in front of my brother and I. They always thought that, like, kids didn't need to, like, we didn't need to know about their finances. We didn't need to know anything like that, which I think is part of normal growing up as a kid. Like, we don't need our daughter knowing our financial stuff that we have, whether it's, I don't know. She just doesn't need to know. She's 5. Like, I don't want her growing up, like, having some of the stuff of like, oh, like my parents had this or had this, and this is how much money my parents made. Like, I never knew.
Yeah, I think with kids, and especially since she's out here, maybe she'll talk and tell you a little bit from her own perspective because she is smart enough to do that. Is
I can learn words now.
Oh, here, say it into here. What did you say?
I can learn words now.
You can learn words.
I think what she's trying to say is she can read. She's learning
She's
to read. I think what's important when it comes to children, and one thing Sarah and I have always done, is number one, we admit when we're wrong and we apologize.
Yeah.
I think that's like the number one thing you can do as a parent in today's society is own your mistakes and actually apologize to your children and let them know when you mess up.
And it shows them that we're not perfect either. It lets kids know, like, hey, mom and dad can make a mistake too. There's times where, like, I got like the notification on like my app today that today I officially hit my 3rd trimester. So I'm officially 7 months pregnant today. So, like, my hormones have been up and down. I don't have as much patience as I did before. And so, like, with her, there's times where, like, I snap at her, and then, like, later on, I'm like,
Because I get in trouble.
well, because you're not, she's 5. And so there's times I'm like, Sadie, chill. Or, like, I'll get on to her, make something a bigger deal than what it should be. And then later on, I'm like, oh, I kind of feel bad. I shouldn't have lost my cool that quickly with her because she's only 5.5. So I will apologize to her. I'll tell her, like, hey, I'm really sorry.
And if I get on to Mama and I hurt her feelings, I will say sorry to her, give her a hug.
You do. You give the best hugs. You
And
really do.
kisses.
Ah, yes. Until you like to try to lay on top of my belly. Then we got a problem. But it's something that, like, Sean and I both try really hard to, like, apologize to her when we are in the wrong, because then that way that shows her, like, okay, my parents are not perfect either. Like, they make mistakes as well.
And so from that, I think the second thing that we've learned, again, this is all learning experience. We just talked about how we're not perfect and we snap and have to apologize to our kiddo. But I think the second thing is we tell her the truth. Now it's age appropriate truth,
Yeah.
but we're not trying to lie to our child. She's too smart for that. Honestly,
Yeah.
like with some of the stuff that happened with my family is we just had to kind of trial by error, figure out how are we going to explain this in a loving way that she's going to understand. But like Sarah said in the beginning of, we're not trying to lay blame. We're not trying to.
It's not revenge.
Yeah, we're not trying to get Sadie to think a certain way. And so, like, if you've ever walked through some of these hard family things, what we found works for us, and I think it can be different for everybody, is there's some things that we'll say, hey, we'll explain this to you a little bit more when you're older. That's kind of like boundary setting with a child, and that's okay. And then we use just age appropriate language, but to tell the truth, we'll just say, XYZ just wasn't being nice, and when they're ready to be nice, we'll talk with them again.
Yeah,
And we kind of leave it at that.
because that's all she needs.
But we're not
to know.
lying,
No, and that's something that like when like I'll even open up as far as like during, because I think it's been like 2 years now that like we've been going through, I would say no contact at this point, because like I haven't spoken to his mom and sister in 2 years. And from the age of like when she was 3.5 years old, she's asking me, where's this person? Where's this relative? Like, I'm not naming names right now just because she will know. And like, some of the things that were being said about him, it gave me a lot of anxiety, almost to the point that like my therapist said I do have PTSD from some of the stuff that we've gone through. Because like I talk about it now with some of my like closest friends, and like it just still blows my mind to this day. Like, we went through this, and this was my life for 2 years. But having like, I couldn't tell you that many times I broke down when she would ask me, where's this person, or why is this person always at their house? And how do you explain that to a kid or a child, especially when she was like 3-4 years old? And I mean, even now, like now she knows what's age appropriate for her as she's licking herself. I don't know why she thinks she's a dog.
She grew up with dogs.
Yeah, she does. I promise she's normal. But I had a counseling session probably about 2 years ago, and I think it was one we did together, where we asked our therapist, we were like, how do we explain this, because she keeps asking and I don't know what to say, but I don't want to lie to her. And our therapist, I remember her telling me, she goes, it's okay to tell her the truth without knowing the full truth. And so like I asked my therapist what she meant by that. And she goes, well, you can say they're being mean to y'all and you just chose to not see them for the time being and leave it there. And so I was like, okay, so the next time, and Sadie has always been the one to bring it up first to me. She always brought it up more to me than she ever did with him. Even now, like she's almost 6 and she is saying it a little bit more in front of him. And now she's saying it a little bit more in front of my parents, like kind of maybe like talking about all of this stuff a little bit more with other people that are family, of this person's not nice or whatever. But the first time, well, I shouldn't shush you, but let me finish. But I remember the first time she asked me after I had that counseling session. And so I did practice what my therapist did say, and I said exactly how my therapist told me to. Said it, left it there, and that was good enough for Sadie. Until like as she got older, she kept asking a little bit more of, well, why? What did they say? What did they do? And I was like, I flat out told her a couple months ago when she asked me, what did they say or what did they do? I told her, I said, when you're older and you're a little bit more grown up, when it's age appropriate, we'll talk to you. We'll have a conversation. I said, but for right now, you don't need to know. Just because we really tried our hardest not to speak negatively about family members to her, because I just don't think that's appropriate. We tried to protect her from all of it as best as we could. And we weren't perfect all the time, but I remember I told my therapist after that, and my therapist was like, well, how'd you feel? I said, still breaks my heart. I mean, even to this day, it still breaks my heart when she brings it up. It doesn't get easy. I don't know where I was going on that spiel, but
Yeah, no, I think it just gets back to telling the truth, age appropriate, but still having, boundaries. It's okay to have boundaries with your children. As someone who grew up without boundaries, um, if parents aren't careful, they'll end up carrying your burdens, and that's not fair. I carried my parents' burdens from a young age, and looking back on it, I thought that was like the right thing to do, or normal or healthy. And there's nothing normal, healthy, or right about carrying burdens that are not appropriate for your age. I think the third thing, which really is number one, but is we've been sure to talk to Sadie about Jesus and root her identity in the Lord. I think what's really, really important about that, though, and maybe one of the reasons why everything happens for a reason, and some of the blessings that potentially came out of everything that happened,
mm-hmm.
is
we pray to Jesus.
That's right. We pray to
Yes.
Jesus. And the reason that she is so into that, though, is not because of anything I ever said. And we went through a little bit of church hurt through this situation. So we probably went a full year without being involved in a church. I'm not like super proud of that, but it's to prove and illustrate that a child doesn't care so much about what you say, but they watch what you do. And through my journey, and my wife, but mine was a little bit more deeper in terms of the pain that I experienced, in terms of the amount of years that I had to process, 30-something years of this. And there was a year where Sadie saw me wake up early because I couldn't sleep well, and she'd wake up every morning and she'd see Daddy either journaling or praying on the couch every morning. And I don't know about.
Sometimes when Daddy prays, I pray with him too, and when he journals, I journal too.
That's right. So she just said, well, sometimes when Daddy prays, I pray with him too, and when he journals, I'll journal too. And that's what I was getting at about 6 months into that.
And Jesus is helping Daddy journal.
And Jesus helps Daddy journal. You're exactly right, sweetheart. I love you. Is the only reason she's into that is because she came up to me one morning and was like, Daddy, can I have my own journal? And I was like, absolutely. And then all of a sudden she starts journaling too, because she sees me do it. It has no, like, I can't just tell her that. You have to actually do it. The kids have to see you. And so, I think that's like the third key, right? Is be a model, actually do the things that you want them to do. Because they're going to, it's okay. Because they're going to do what they see you do, and not necessarily what you tell them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me it was.
And sometimes you have to listen to
for
your
my
mom
life.
and dad.
No, not sometimes.
All the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
It's like a constant battle with you and I.
Sometimes they will be surprised.
Yeah, I get surprised when you do listen. And like the times where like
So we be scared, but when you turn 6 or you
What?
grown up.
what? No, I just get surprised when I tell you something and you go do it. I'm like, oh, she does listen. But she's amazing. All like her pre-K teacher bragged about her all year about how amazing she was. And I'm like, this is not the same child at home.
I'm crazy.
Yeah, but we love you. I don't even know where I was going because she distracted me.
I think you're just going to talk about how they don't do what you say, but they'll do what you do. They're going to emulate you.
I mean, for me, I think it was really like, you talk about like not going to church for a year. I think for me, like I was checked out the last 2 years.
Well, you went through, and maybe we'll talk about that more on the next episode.
Yeah.
But you went through a lot of church hurt.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
Excuse me.
It wasn't like it wasn't just like my wife just didn't want to go to church. some of the stuff that happened with my family was related to some of the relationships in church, in a church group.
Excuse me.
And it was just a hard time. We're fortunate we found a good church down here in Florida. We're back in church. Sadie, what's the name of the church we go to?
Destiny.
Destiny, that's right. She loves it. That's why I let her.
I get to go to that church all day long, even with church days.
On Sunday.
She is always asking about when is it church day. So
I love church.
all right, they're gonna think we're paying you.
Yeah, this is not a paid sponsorship.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
thank you. Can I have some money?
no, ma'am.
I don't know what money we were talking about.
What money you talking about?
Your money?
My money? Dad don't have no money.
Your money?
No.
Of your credit.
All right. Maybe another day.
Okay, fine. I was that. Goodbye.
I think she's faking asleep. Let's take advantage. So
Or if you want to go inside, that's cool.
yeah. Hey, why don't you go play with all your new toys that we bought you from Disney World?
Oh, that's a great idea. I'm sure you probably have to clean up some toys too.
You need to go clean up?
Or turn off the TV in your room.
I'm hungry.
You're hungry?
Okay,
Okay,
go
go inside
inside
and get ready. We'll get dinner ready here in a minute.
Oh, yeah.
Come on.
Hey, can I go get the apples in? Or is it
Go ahead and get an apple. That's fine.
If you spill the watermelon again, I might lose it.
Goodbye, fellas. Hey, hope you have my credit. And you give me back my credit right now.
Okay, go get an apple.
Okay. Don't know where she gets that from.
Say
Money.
it.
Uh,
Sadie.
Oh my gosh.
Well, as you can see, this is not scripted.
Yeah, this is definitely not.
And
I think it's funny because you asked me, you're like, how do you want to go about this? I was like, just let it be natural. And this is honestly,
this is our
Get
family.
your hands off the window unless you're going to clean it.
I am.
Okay, go get an apple.
Sorry, the mom brain went off when I see that because I just cleaned our windows.
Well,
Yeah.
all right. So
You're not getting any credit back.
okay, close the door.
All right.
Go get an apple, sweetheart.
All right.
So yeah, that's our family, and I'm glad that you got to see it in all of its craziness. Honestly,
Yeah, we just got to bring the dogs out.
Yes. Next time we will introduce you to our German Shepherds. We have 2 elderly German Shepherds. One likes to talk a lot, and she's on a diet because we're all kind of on a diet in our house.
Except me, I'm eating for 2.
But
Just kidding.
yeah, we're trying to make sure that she can still stand up because her hips are not the strongest. So she lets us know it every day that
when
she's
she's hungry and she woos at us.
Yes.
Or she'll whine, which she's doing right now because she probably wants to come outside, but it's currently raining.
So anyways, I think that's a good first episode. I think we hit on a lot. Next time, maybe we'll talk a little bit about the church hurt experience because I know a lot of people have gone through their own things with church hurt, and I can talk about my experience at that last church with my own church hurt too. Navigating that situation, finding a church that fits us better, and learning how to just kind of let things roll off your back because no church is going to be perfect.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please make sure if you enjoyed this, leave us a comment, like, follow. I'm going to be I'm going to be building out my wife's Substack specifically for this Sarah and Sean show. And so be sure to subscribe to that when it comes out officially. And yeah, please be sure to share it with other parents. Love you guys, and God bless you.